probably get the majority of our mail from, but they account for about 42% of deliveries in the UK now. Amazon in the pandemic, pre-pandemic was about 18%, but at the moment, or last year, we anticipate them to be around 23%, according to Ofcom data at the moment. And Hermes, Yodel and DPD account for about 24%, and the rest of the group is made up of a range of national TNT and local couriers who you might have to you. In numbers, in 2017, there was some 2.7 billion parcels delivered in the UK. And we're seeing consistent growth pre-pandemic of 10 to 13% year on year. Parcel pen growth in use last year, and that is the contactless delivery and the increase, the 5 years almost of growth that we had in 6 months caused by the pandemic. The forecast for that growth to continue, 4 billion parcels by 2024 in the UK. And students at the moment on our data are receiving on average 7 parcels each per calendar month. The last part of, I suppose, the randomness of these numbers is last year has also seen a 22% increase in parcel theft reported to the Royal Mail. And of course, parcels coming to our buildings, coming into our residences in particular, should be good news stories. So if there's a rise in theft, if there's one theft, that's a problem. If there's 10, that's a real problem. And what we need to look at is where thefts are, I suppose, malicious or of criminal intent, or where we have those experiences, and I'm sure we've all had them, where you perhaps have Hermes or Yodel who have put the parcel, shall we say, in a safe place, and that safe place has been collected by the dustman or by the neighbour, or it just isn't there. And the numbers around that, there's about a 2% wastage in carriers on missing parcels for sign for post. Unfortunately, with Yodel, and this isn't a published figure, that number's nearly 20%. And that's not because of they are throwing, there is a little bit in there that they happen to carry a lot of the low value non-signed for products as well. And there's a little bit of insurance fraud in that, I suppose, with people ordering a second gift or a second parcel as a replacement. But overall, if you're still losing 2, 3 or 4% of your parcels from those carriers, it can have a huge impact on your time and attempting to resolve these issues. I think with the little screen up, I'm not being allowed to move my screen through, so I shall just hop out and back in like that. Some more trends really around the college part and around students. It was an interesting thing for anyone who was on last week's roundtable with Reese from Costa, who was talking about 56% of students prefer an experience over a physical object. And this is, it was a really fascinating number to me, and I was trying to get my head around it to some extent, because the other side of that is that students really are leading, and Gen Zers really are leading the growth in e-commerce and online shopping. We know that students are taking around about 50% more parcels on average than if we were to look into an open market sale apartment building, for example. And that's a combination both of retail and e-commerce, but also care packages coming from home. Whether it be, I don't know, a gift or a note or a little food parcel. And of course, over the last year, with the additional pressure of contact-free deliveries on everything from food to books to all retail, really, that was even higher. So that 56% was a really interesting number for us. What it's meant is that every day has been almost like Christmas or Black Friday. And in fact, last week, I was meeting with a university who were saying that they've gone from receiving an average of 100 Royal Mail deliveries a day to between 500 and 600 Royal Mail deliveries on a Monday at their main campus accommodation site, which is obviously a huge task to manage on a human effort. And I'm just going to get rid of this screen to see if it allows me to clear, to move the presentation, and it isn't. Forgive me as I hop out and hop in. Sorry about that. Hopefully you can see my screen again. I shall have to keep sidebar open. It's a bit of a worldwide event. Our primary marketplace has been in the USA, where we cover 58% of the higher education locker placements across the USA with Quadient. But in the UK, we're starting to get some really impressive universities that we're working with. And we're working directly with them, or you can come via the Crown Procurement Service as well. Our largest configuration actually on smart lockers is at the University of Bristol at the moment, and that's an enormous configuration in there. So it's a really interesting footplate that we have. And what we're attempting to do is we're attempting to meet the demands and needs of our students, where we're seeing 87% of student consumers wanting a contact-free option when it comes to the delivery of their packages. The other thing that they're talking about when we speak within the student marketplace, as well as in a private rented marketplace actually, is the enhanced customer experience around the service, having 24/7 access to collecting their parcels. And I think that one probably will ring true with a lot of your residents. We know that students don't necessarily keep the same hours as everyone else. But of course, with the volume of parcels that you're getting, if you are only open, or your reception desks are only open perhaps till 5 or 6 in the evening, and you're getting that volume coming in the morning, you're creating quite a narrow collection opportunity for a huge number of students during that opening hours in the afternoon. Of new employees at the likes of Amazon, they're recruiting over 25 agents across the UK to cope with this demand. And it's an absolute phenomenal growth that not just last year, but has been continuous now for about 5 or 6 years. And anyone who has met me, forgive me for telling exactly the same story. And I'm sure that I've mentioned this probably to Jan at least. I did just before lockdown, I did a site survey for a residential estate in London. The estate was 6 years old at the time. It had broken ground 4 years earlier on its build, and it had gone through its planning permissions about 3 years, which coincides really with sort of the launch of the iPhone and Amazon becoming a thing. In its first year, it had taken 750 apartments, give or take, for your reference. In its first year, it had taken 4,500 deliveries onto that estate through the concierge desk. And it was a kind of nice service that they offered. Just before lockdown, it had taken 47,000 parcels in the previous 12 months. And that had accounted for almost 3 full-time employees. But then last year, it went crazy. I mean, if that growth isn't already there, last year, it saw, again, about a 30% increase on the figures. And exactly as we've been saying, we created an entire new way of working, and we had to do it quickly. And we had to work out how we could manage the volumes. And I expect you had students who were under lockdown, you had quarantine flats who had absolutely no ability to come out and collect things. You had students who weren't there at the normal timeframes. You had staff who were perhaps quarantining themselves or out and missing. So we created this new world where we had things such as social distancing become a buzzword, contact-free delivery, other options that came up when I was talking about what lifestyle or things happened in your world last year. Where was all the flour was something that people kept telling me, and why were they visiting the fridge 27 times? But all of these parts which created this slightly different world had to be addressed immediately. But actually they probably only emphasized an issue around deliveries and around how we manage the flow and the process of parcels by speeding up what had already been happening. And what it's created, and what we knew about, is that it's created huge queues, exactly as we said. We've got timed issues. If you're receiving that volume of parcels and you have to process all of those parcels, and then you have a slot in which people can come, are you seeing queues? Are you getting people coming when you haven't been able to manage or process the parcels? And how are you managing your parcels behind the scenes? What's your storeroom and your post rooms looking like at the moment? Or are you just having parcels that are being left in lobbies or outside of student residences? And what are the problems that are being created with all of those issues arising? More importantly, I suppose, is what can we do to adjust those problems? In order to think about that and to question that, we have to look at what we're doing and how we're doing it. So I think we can boil it down into a really simple process, regardless of whether we do it by pen and paper and we're sticking things in a cupboard, or whether we automate that process. We have to look at 5 key things. We have to receive a parcel, we have to log it, we have to store it, we have to inform the resident that it's available, and then we have to distribute it. And the question, I suppose, is how long does it take? What's the process where you are, and how long, if you add each of those stages together, does it take for your team? Our research shows that it takes around about 6 minutes. So you're receiving the parcel, recording it. Are you logging it on a kinetic system, or are you writing it into a book? Are you putting it into a cupboard, which then it needs to be retrieved when someone comes to you? How do you communicate that message to you, to your residents? And then when they come, how do you hand it over? So if it's 6 minutes to process 100 parcels, let's say a day, could be up to 10 hours a day. And if you turn it round, for every 100 students you have, if you look at that 7 deliveries that we spoke of a couple of slides ago, that's 70 hours a month per 100 students. So the site we were at last week that I mentioned was 2,500 students. That's a big old site on one, or well, it's actually a residential campus, but with 2 post rooms and 2 receptions. It's a huge amount of time that is being taken out of those of the reception team's day and the security team's day. So again, I suppose the question becomes is, how many other tasks are not being done on time, or not in the way that people would like? And what is the cost, the actual cost of doing these repetitive and manual admin tasks, where we can perhaps add a workflow to it and automate the entire process for you? The absolute part of the business that I focus on and come from is the parcel lockers side of it. And some nice sort of images there of some of our installations. But the process is exactly the same as the previous slide. The lockers automate the receiving, the informing, the holding and the distributing of the parcel. So what we do is we upload all of your residents onto the locker. And when courier comes, the lockers are vendor agnostic. Anyone can deliver into them. And there are two ways really. It can be direct by courier, or it can be to your central post room, who will then put in there, and the box will still communicate with the residents and they'll collect it from there. So you're saving well over half of the time if you're using that option. But if it's direct by the courier, it just becomes a management function. The work is at the start of the year when we upload all of the residents onto the box through a CSV file. And the box communicates via student name or student number for a unique identifier. And the courier will arrive. They will scan into the box. So for security purposes, we can authorize who is putting what into the box. It will communicate via SMS message, email, or even if the students download our app through the app to tell them that they have post. And when they come, they simply scan their message, and there'll be a barcode on there which will open their compartment for them. Or for complete contactless delivery, they can open the compartments by Bluetooth from the app. From your point of view, it's a walk past on a daily basis to make sure that it's clean, that the hygiene standard is being maintained, that nothing is damaged on the exterior, and that everything is working well. You'll also have access to a full management suite, which I'll come to in a moment. As well as the parcel lockers, though, we have a web tracking system. So you can actually record things in and out of the either parcel lockers or into a more traditional mailroom setup. If you're using a system to distribute internal mail, for example, across a campus, or you're looking to measure assets being moved around a campus, whether it be library books through a delivery process, or internal deliveries into departments. It can all go through the web tracking system, which can be a handheld system, through to a completely integrated system. And of course, the other part that we can add is the security scanners. And that can be whether just a parcel scanning box is on the image, through to a full airport-style security walkthrough system. And it's as much or as little as you need around your campus. Those need to be considered for incoming post. The whole system is supported by a program. So you have a dedicated customer care manager, an account manager, we have a team of engineers. Despite it being a great big hunk of hardware, if you're having the locker system, the actual product is really a software product. And of course, we have software engineers as well. And what that means is that you have support behind you to make sure there is no downtime. You have maintenance on your hardware, including preventative maintenance, next day call out on failures. So if a door is broken, for example, we can have that replaced and repaired for you. More importantly, and I think one of the things that Hamad is particularly going to talk about is the management information that comes with the service. And being able to see, for example, what lockers are in use, where your parcels are, where your flow of information is, your peak periods of usage, and using that information both to explain your return on investment back up the chain, the senior management and the bursars around the university, but also to be able to perhaps plan for high days and holidays and staffing allowances. You can see, for example, that your deliveries might peak at, or collections, I should say, sorry, might peak at 5 p.m. rather on how you're going to staff front desks or where things need to be allocated, where resources need to be allocated. what we're attempting to, as I said slightly earlier, is really roll back all of those processes at the moment that are slightly disjointed and perhaps run in a manual basis, to automate them and take the day-to-day processes and admin away from your teams. It should only be a management overview. It should free your team's time up to handle the 101 other tasks that come across their desks every day. Why is the burglar alarm going off? Oh, the smoke alarm going off, sorry. Why are the doors not shutting? Who's on campus? Why are they on campus? Dealing with any issues around security or within your COVID arena, I suppose, managing the security of the residents and all the issues that's thrown up, and given the challenges over the last year. Why are we spending that time on management of parcels? And we know that the parcel situation isn't going away. We know it's only escalating. So hopefully we can give you some ideas about the options that are available to us and available to you on managing that process. I've kind of rattled on with various ideas and themes there, and I suppose at this point it's better for me to hand over to Hamid to speak a little bit about how they use the system at Northampton and what the result of that has been for them. So if I can, Hamid, I'll hand on to you.
Yes, sure. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you can hear me and also see me. Hello?
Yes, we can see and hear you.
We can
Wonderful.
hear you. We can't see you at the moment.
We can hear you, certainly.
Okay, wonderful. I have had a bit of an issue with Zoom during the last couple of days, but I will just continue. As long as you can hear me, that would be great. Obviously, we have had Quadient for a long time here in University of Northampton. I mean, from the early days of New Post. The usage and the feedback from the teams across all the states, residencies and academic areas have always been great. But during the obviously pandemic and the situation of the COVID, this has really helped us. Imagine putting in place measures such as social distancing, positive cases within the areas where you had your staff and you were worried for their safety or the students. So you had to limit the interaction. So the parcel locker system has been amazing, really, during the last, especially 13 months. Everything is automated. We have them in 4 different areas of the campus, 3 residential areas, and 1 is in the academic area, which is just outside the reception visitor center. So we have a central area where all the posts comes in, and from there, team would just distribute that and place it in the locker for the students. And because it's an automated process, obviously the initial setup is so important. We have to ensure that the data is captured from the students and their information is being inputted correctly. Once they are on the system, their emails are captured, their data is there. As soon as we load and we put a parcel in, immediately a notification email goes to the students. So they will see it, they know the parcel is there. At their convenience, they can just easily go to the area and pick it up 24/7. At their leisure, they pick up their parcels. So contact-free, obviously, they don't need to queue, they don't need to go to the actual post room. So they pick it up. And also, obviously, operational guys deal with all that side. And myself, I'm actually able to log into Okay.
Hamid, we've lost your sound. Hopefully it will come back, everybody. Let's give him a minute. He seems to be looking at.
Have we lost Hamid totally there?
We can, yeah, Hamid, we can see you but not hear you at the moment, I'm afraid. I don't know whether it's worth, I can see that you've got an alternative device there. I don't know whether it's worth you trying on your phone. I think for everyone's, obviously it's really important if we can to be able to interact with Hamid, because he's actually implemented this solution. But we do have a case study, don't we, John, of the Northampton.
Yes, and we'll share, or Jan will share with you afterwards. Oh, hang on.
Oh, here's how, are you back? I might just send him a Hamid, we can't hear you. I don't know if you can hear us, but I'm going to send you.
Whilst Hamid is trying to resolve that, there's a question in from Lyndon Brown. Perhaps I can address, or start to address, or two questions on there, I think. The second part is access to buildings being an issue with residences. So we have both internal and external locker solutions available. So if you are on a campus development or a gated community or something like that, we can always do external solutions. Probably less valid if you're in a city centre location, but can still be done. Internal is obviously preferable if you're in that sort of environment. And for that, we would obviously recommend that your couriers have access into probably a utility space or into a reception. But what you're wanting to avoid, obviously, is for them to have free reign around the building for a security of the students and the residents basis. So again, it's something that we can look at for you, and we have different options available. On the first part of the question there is having had problem with couriers delivering directly into boxes. This is sometimes a challenge, but it is a challenge we should be able to overcome. And we do it working with your teams so that we can give them the answers and the confidence to work with the couriers. But also we will work directly with the courier companies, both at a head office level, at a depot level. And actually now we are all allowed out and about again and aren't confined quite so strictly under lockdown rules. We can come and basically camp in your receptions and capture those route drivers when they come past. And the account managers and customer success managers will put a really big piece of work together to make certain work with the drivers on that. We've got examples, and again, if anyone has heard me talk before, forgive the same anecdote coming up again. But we had an example, really a good example, with a driver going into a particular building, and he wasn't not wanting to use it. It's just he felt that if he was delivering directly to the reception, he had much more chance for a good old chat and a bit of a flirt with the receptionists. So we were able to sort of move that behavior along a little bit. The particular company was one of the companies that was paid on delivery. So by encouraging, giving the staff in the building the confidence to say, look, we're not accepting the parcels for a security aspect, they have to go through there. We also showed him how quick and easy it was. And actually, when he found out that it was literally 7 to 10 seconds delivery process, perhaps the unintended consequence of this was he realized he had more time for flirting and chatting with the front of house team than he had previously. So we can work with the teams to try and adjust that behavior. And we can also work with the head office and the depots to try and adjust that behavior. And with lockdown having ended, the actual route driver conversation is a much easier one for us to be having now. So, please do keep us informed of that, because it is something that we're able to do and willing and able, as I said, able to do as well.
Thanks, John. I think we have Hamid back, and I wonder if I can see that we're getting some questions coming in. Can I suggest that, Hamid, you finish your presentation for everybody, and then we go back to the questions? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Hamid, you're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, excellent.
So sorry, but it's just, yeah, I'm having difficulties here, but yeah, I was just going on, but I wasn't sure that you heard me at all. The experience here has been great. As I mentioned, we are getting huge amount of deliveries coming in, and we are able to process it. Students giving us fantastic feedback. One of the questions that I just saw was in regard to the actual lockers. We recently have requested Quadient to provide us with oversized lockers. So anything large also can be accommodated in the actual lockers. So that has been something that has been added as well. Are you still able to hear me? Hello?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
I'm so sorry, but I'm having difficulties with Zoom.
We can hear you. We can see you and hear you at the moment. It's all fine, Hamid.
That's wonderful. Obviously, the operational guys dealing with all the deliveries, handling, filling all the parcel lockers, and that automatically sends the information. Students collect their items at their will, 24/7. But in reference to my role and what I do, I always log in. I see the details. I can put the trends together, the number of the deliveries. I can actually plan ahead, forecast when we're going to be busy, when I can actually have extra resourcing to handle and deal with the deliveries coming in. So the KPIs are in place. I get the information and I present it to my bosses as well here in university. So we are really happy with the service that we are receiving. The customer service of Quadient is fantastic as well. Any issues, the guys, you just drop them a line, tell them the description of the fault or the issue, and they attend, they're immediately there helping you. So we are really happy.
Thank you. Thanks, Hamid. That's great. So questions for John and Hamid, pop them in the chat probably, unless you'd like to speak live. John, are you happy to take the questions that you can see them in the chat, take them in the order that you prefer?
Sorry, I started on silent as well. Then it's only been a year of ignoring the little microphone. So the question was, how easy is it to alter students as they move residences? So the file upload is relatively easy, and it's something that our customer success management team would work with you to evolve. one of the things that, again, we were talking about last week at the particular site we were visiting, was that you would use a student name if you were using it as a centralized service rather than on each individual building. We would also add on to that the student number, for example, as an identifier. So if actually you have a campus accommodation with, for example, 10 buildings and each building has 10 flats of 10 students, you would have John Hammond student number 1001234. So if I moved from block A to block B, my name and number stay with me. If you were putting it into each individual block, that of course can be changed through a CSV file upload as well. So it's not impossible by any stretch, and we would work with you to show you how that happens and be able to do that. How do the couriers get access to the box? So the couriers are given barcodes themselves, in the same way that at the moment Royal Mail will perhaps have a fob to come into a building, into a residential building. And then when they are delivering a parcel, they scan their barcode, which identifies them as Amazon or TNT or DPD. And then they search for the student by name and confirm it by either the room number or the student number. The student gets notification, which again, you can set up how often you want the student to be notified or the recipient to be notified that they haven't collected their parcel. So you can have it set to every 24 hours, for example. But on the management information system that Hamid was speaking about, you will also get to see dwell times and parcels that have been there for a day or 2 days or 3 days. So you can set yourself protocols on how you want to manage that. And it might be that you remove parcels to a secondary storage if they've been there for 3 days to prevent the boxes being filled up. Or it might be that you have it returned to sender. But actually our data shows that something in the region of about 80% of parcels are collected within 8 hours across all of the Quadient estate. And in student accommodation, because of the very nature of how we move in and out of student rooms, and whether you're a campus university or whether you're in halls separated from your campus, that dwell time of parcels between being delivered and collected is actually substantially lower than if you're in a traditional residential environment where somebody might go out to work at 7:30 or 8 in the morning and not get home till 6 in the evening. By the very nature of having perhaps lectures this morning and then maybe having sports in the afternoon, students tend to come and go through the building a lot quicker. And the dwell time of parcels as a result is a lot quicker. It's only about 1.5% that is over 3 days, and the middle part is the rest, is the balance there. So it moves through quite quickly. But as I said, you can set additional alerts and things like that. The next question down, what happens if there are too many parcels for the lockers? Is there a time limit set to empty it? So again, the time limit can be set. If there are too many, if, for example, and if you have oversized parcels, so somebody orders, and this might not be the most common thing to be ordered onto a campus, but an ironing board, for example, it might not fit into a standard compartment, or if all your compartments are full, you can either have it sent to then your mail room or to your security desk, and the communication still happens in exactly the same way, but the student is told that it's at the secondary collection point, or the person has to redeliver the following day. But as we work with you, as we design a configuration, we look at your parcel data, we put it against our parcel data for other comparable sites and against the Ofcom data, and we would always give you our suggested configuration. But most importantly, it's a modular service. So if we do start at, let's say, 55 lockers, And actually you're getting 60 or 70 or 80 parcels a day. We can grow that with extensions relatively quickly and relatively easy for you. I don't know if you have anything to add to those first two questions, Hamid.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just want to ensure. Obviously, in regard to James's question, initial setup of data is so important. So we have to ensure that the addresses, the names, the contact details are being captured, because without it, the notification go to the wrong place. So you will be stuck with something that is going to sit there for a little while. So we have to ensure that everything is updated. In regard to items which are larger or increasing the capacity, what we have done is we have gone in and brought in, we had the same issue. So we got some oversized lockers added to our tally. So across the estates now, we have items that even if it's large, still we are able to accommodate it in the lockers. So that has really resolved the issue as well and helped the students. So.
Brilliant. So the next question is footprint of lockers. As I said, it's a modular service, so we would build it up. The approximate sizes are, it's just over 2 meters tall and 60 centimeters deep. And then the width depends on the number of compartments. So a starter unit with the control kiosk in is just over 1 meter in width. And each of the extension modules are 1 meter in width, except we have a half module as well, so 50 centimeters. So it depends on the size and shape of modules. We have extension units with one enormous compartment in them through to 18 compartments. But part of the design process when we're investigating with you is that we look at the space that's available and we look at how we can work it, what the best configuration for you would be. And they can be put into either a straight line, or we can have them in parallel lines opposite each other in a square, horseshoe, or an L shape, or really fill any space that's available. What we can't do is have them back to back, because if your screen is on this side and your doors are opening on this side, that makes it a bit slower for both the courier to see where it's going. And what is really important is that you get courier buy-in if they're delivering directly, but also for the resident to see where their parcel is for receiving it. So we prefer it to be face-to-face rather than back-to-back. But as I said, we can build that up and show you what the footprint would be. Lyndon, on Solent, I will speak after this with Barrett, and we can work on that for you. I know you were visited, I think was it just last week actually, by Bren and some of the team, and went through some of the issues. I think that was yourself, wasn't it? So hopefully we can get on to that now and fill in those gaps for you and pick up on any loose ends. But that shouldn't be a problem at all in any way, shape or form. And
then, thanks for that, John. The technical issue was solved.
Excellent, good.
Just, John, just keeping an eye on the time here. Just want to suggest that any questions that are in the chat that aren't answered, that we give them to you and you answer them on paper, and we then circulate that along with anything else.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Okay, thanks.
Very quickly on call boxes, we do not have a call box solution in the UK at the moment. A little bit about want and need at the moment, but we will fill in some gaps around that. And on the technical side, on the name and address part, I will fill in afterwards. The oversized part, as we said, we can have it redirected, but we have different size configurations as well. And what we can always do is we can put together for anyone who's looking a configuration, but we can show you the different options that are available. Let's have a look. Given that everyone may have used their capacity for the lockers, not to be a specific person.
There's a question for Hamid at the bottom, actually, that we might take first, if that's okay.
Yes.
While you're here, what are your staff levels in the mailroom before and after installation of lockers?
Can you still hear me? I just want to double check.
Yes, we can.
That's good. That's good. Obviously, the staff that we had already in place, they remain within their role, so they continue still supporting us with the deliveries, and also because we have a central area where all the goods in is, and so they are able to help other team members. So we have retained the staff, but obviously there are deliveries, as John mentioned. We are getting a lot of, I mean, the delivery numbers and the intake and the loading of the lockers across the estate. So the numbers has increased. I mean, the level of deliveries is amazing. So we still need the support of the staff. Imagine if you have had, I mean, pre-pandemic, if you have had 1,000, now you're getting 2,000. So you still have to get the information, log the actual parcels, fill the locker. So all of that still remains, but your capacity has increased massively. So you still do need your staff to support the process, but they are still able to help the other team members within the goods inward with other things such as help desk or switchboard. So the staff are still there helping.
Excellent, thank you. Very quick answer to the capacity for lockers not tied to a specific person. They are dynamic. So if I had a delivery this morning to a locker and I take my parcel out, Jan could have a parcel delivered into that one this afternoon, and it would be her unique code that identifies her parcel to open that particular compartment. So it's not an allocated space. And from Queens, we have engineers across both this side of the water and on the island of Ireland. So if you have a hardware issue, it is next working day delivery and intervention can take place. If it's a software issue, we will often know about it before you do, and hopefully it will be resolved before you do. We have a bunker of technicians. We don't allow them out into the daylight very often, but they will spot things and be able to mend and assess as necessary. But if it was, for example, somebody had I don't know, pulled a door off in a drunken stunt, then we can have an engineer on site the next day to deal with that sort of thing. And levels of vandalism, they're pretty robust. You know, if somebody wants to damage them, they can, but much in the same way that if somebody wants to break into your bank, someone can. You have to really go about it with a bit of effort. There are steel product. I mean, we can't say never, but we are very lucky. We haven't had really any major cases, and part of that is because it is a service to your residents, and they tend to look after and protect those sorts of services. But we can't say never. But you know, if somebody did go about it with a crowbar, then we may well have to reassess that. If there's any other questions that we can deal with in a sort of 60-second framework, please do shout. Otherwise, very happy to reply to anyone's emails. We'll share our details afterwards and answer all the questions that we can.
Lovely, thank you, John. Seem to have timed that absolutely perfectly, right on the hour. So, Lisa, yes, you can have copies of the presentation. I think the case study and some other information will be coming out to you as well. And you'll have John's contact details, and I hope it's okay, Hamid, if we share yours as well. So if you have any other questions, you can get in touch with either of them. So I'd like to thank you, John, and Quadient for organising this roundtable, and heartfelt thanks to Hamid for battling on and actually providing us with some really useful insights into the experience that you've had with the software and the solution. And thank you very much. And thanks everybody for coming. I hope it was useful for you. We will connect you all up afterwards so that you can follow up with any other questions that you have, and look forward to seeing some of you on the next roundtable. Okay then, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I've got that, yes. Perfect. I can see Darko R. The answer is yes, we will see you in the correspondence. Sorry, I'm just cutting and pasting your email address now. Sorted. Perfect, right.
Okay.
Okay, how are we doing here? Just Ria, thanks for joining us. Ria's from Tap Lanes, John, another one of our corporate partners. Sorry, I didn't see your message, Ria, that you hadn't got the Zoom link, but hopefully you found that useful. John, I have recorded, and probably, I guess we can share it. You know, obviously it won't be smooth because of the technical issues, but I don't have a problem with sharing it.
No, not at all.
Okay, I think that would be useful.
And
okay.
I will send you, or if you want, the presentation that I sent last night. I was having some technical difficulties myself. I realized this morning hadn't included on it on slide 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think it says Royal Mail and Parcel Force still account for, and then I didn't say what it accounted for. It was 42% of deliveries is the answer. If you want to update that, or I can send you an updated version.
So it's on slide 2.
Yes.
Yeah. We can do it, and then we'll convert it to a PDF, I think, as well. So it'll condense it, and we'll circulate that. And I know that Chanel provided me with some other information to circulate.
Yeah, so there should be a case study, and if you need, we obviously have a brochure as well. And then please feel free to send my contact details to anyone, and I can, is it possible to export those questions, and I can just put a few bullet points down for you and send those over?
Yes, it will save the chat. I'll cut and paste. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay.
Okay then.
Thanks very much for that, Jen. Cheers.
Thanks everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.